It's not. Oh, yes. Great. Hey, Brooke. Nice to see you. I wish I could see you. And Jonathan, hi. Hi, Grace.
Hey, gorgeous friend.
Good morning to you on the West Coast.
Yay, good morning. First cup.
Oh, beautiful. I have had my coffee and now I'm on my coconut water.
Oh, that's awesome.
Hey, can I tell you? I don't know if you know, but when we were in Manila, we had communion with coconut water.
Really?
I don't know if you noticed that.
I didn't.
Haha! It was so great because I was working with one of the local bishops who is going to facilitate communion for us. The day before, a couple of days before, we were talking about how he wanted communion to work, and he said, "And did you know if Jesus was in the Philippines, he would have used coconut water because they don't grow grapes in the Philippines."
Wow.
And so I was like, yeah, of course he would have had coconut water. So I was like, wait a minute, can we have coconut water during communion? And he's like, I think that'd be great.
Well, now that adds to my list of something amazing.
Yeah, I was totally so pleased. And then I talked to the church who was, hosting us, and they were like so relieved. They're like, oh yes, it's way easier to find coconut water than grape juice.
And
And
for
so I was like, so
people in the room, I mean, geez, that would be a lot of grapes to toss.
so I was so happy to contextualize the Lord's Supper for the Philippines. I was just so happy about that. Yeah.
Beautiful.
So now every time I have coconut water, I think about Manila.
It's extra holy now.
Yay! Anyway, so good to have you, and thank you so much for joining me, and hope that other people come and join us too, but in order to have a conversation and a discussion. But yeah. So what are you up to these days?
Well, I was thinking about a chat, and I'm thinking how appropriate how to look after your soul, right? This week is
Yeah.
quite busy because my husband is out of town, so
Oh,
solo parenting, work, and I'm coaching, and I'm cleaning, and I'm cooking, but at the same time, holding my center and being aware of not allowing my soul to be lost in things is very helpful. But in the midst of all of it, I feel grounded.
oh, thank God. You are really, honestly, yeah, describing your week, you are doing everything. I just want to say hi to Morgan and to Jay. I see you guys. All right, so let's start. I just want to introduce my amazing friend, Grace. You are just really, I mean, I don't want to pressure you, but you are pretty amazing. But I just appreciate that you're just also a real person. Like you are just, you're not putting on pretenses. Um, and I just love that you're just so authentic. But yeah, so I'm kind of fangirling right now, and I'm just kind of like, yay, I'm so excited. Um, and so I really appreciated just hearing about more about what you do and your coaching. And you actually came to my class a couple of weeks ago. I'm teaching a leadership class to third and fourth year business students at Redeemer University.
Yeah.
They wrote, so they have a weekly journal that they have to write for the course. And they wrote about what they learned from you.
Hmm.
So they really, really appreciated the difference that you described on between mentoring and coaching and therapy and coaching. And yeah, some of them are also on sports. So they have sports coaches. And so they're really like just under and appreciating the difference of like, how do you like see coaching in your life versus coaching in a sports context? So it was so great having you come and be our guest lecturer, but then also really awesome to read the students. Maybe I'll send you some quotes from there. of what they appreciated. They're like, wow. So you are influencing so many young minds as well as I'm sure so many other like incredibly powerful people. So yeah. So why don't you, if you could, just introduce yourself to everybody a little bit more fuller than what I just did.
Sure. Well, short of it is, I am founder of the Maximize Group, and I started the Maximize Group out of a passion to move people forward. I noticed I work as a speaker, motivational trainer, and someone that works in global missions. Get very sad when I see people and not really moving in the direction of their potential. So
Wow.
Maximize is a company that provides coaching and training and that I facilitate for teams and individuals who really are trying to reach their goals, and they're trying to pursue purpose and to kind of align themselves either with a corporate goal and vision or their personal vision. So sometimes companies recognize the need of coaching individuals that are on their team, and they hire me to be a personal coach for an executive so that they can actually be their best in their personal and professional life and
Yeah.
actually niches. So out of that, I saw a need in the world of leadership and corporate work, just with professionals, especially with women, right?
Oh,
How women really are gifted and talented, and yet sometimes their souls are kind of lost in the process.
mm, mm.
But to reflect and wonder, how can you be so successful in your work and you're so corroded in your soul?
Wow.
Yeah, so that for me was the need that I saw, and I created Soul Successful Women, because it's not a bad thing to be successful. And
Right.
I don't mean you can't be successful just because your soul needs to be preserved. But what would it look like for you to be successful while your soul is being nurtured? So that's what Soul Successful Woman is.
So you are redefining the understanding of what success looks like. Ah,
That's well said, Anne. I love how you said that. Because especially for us in the Christian world, it can be like a dirty word.
mm,
If you
yeah.
want to be successful, it's almost like you've become so vain.
Oof. Oh dear. Okay.
But really, it's because we are trying to look at success through the eye of the world,
Mm.
but biblical perspective to success. So success in itself is not a bad word, but the kind of success that you are focusing on is what makes it good or bad. So biblical success is really about aligning your soul with the assignment that God has called you to do. That is your purpose on earth.
Mm.
And good success has eternity in perspective, not just the here and now.
Oof. Well,
Yeah.
that's a goal.
Goal, right?
Eternity.
Yeah.
That's a big one. Okay.
Because the word
Whoa.
success is about, pleasure, vanity, getting rich and fame and being a
Right.
star and having everything you want, gratification, put your feet up, sit on holidays, vacations, don't work more in your life. We have this kind of vain goals that the world presents. And sadly,
Mhm.
many of us don't know how to redefine success for ourselves, especially Christians. And my role is in the workplace to help women move away from a success that's not working to define a kind of success that aligns with their soul and their goals.
Well, and honestly, I mean, sure. I would love to go to the beach and have my own private yacht.
Yeah.
So I'm like, yes, please. But on the other hand, is it worth it? You know what I mean? Like, is it worth sacrificing your spiritual well-being and your health?
Yeah.
Um, so I wanted to say hey to everybody, and I see questions already, and so thanks so much, Sam. Oh, and hey, Sam, awesome, and Arslan from Pakistan, amazing. Um, if you could repeat your question sometimes. Oh, what is the difference between these different kinds of leadership? And I don't know if I can get a reply link. Is that something I'm supposed to be doing? Um, I will be posting Grace's information in the bio of the video later, so you can get in touch with her that way, and as well her social media handles. So yes, that I will do. Um, so maybe, yeah, could you maybe define what it means to be a coach, like when you're saying when you're coaching people?
Yes. A coach or coaching is simply partnering with others so that they can fulfill their own goals or potential. That's a generic definition of goal and strategically coming alongside someone. I describe myself as a strategic thinking partner.
Oh, okay.
So in that way, a coach is not an expert. A consultant is an expert. That's the difference. Consultants come because they have some expertise that you need either on your project, on your business, or your idea to give you the piece that you don't have so you can move forward. The
Hmm.
coach comes alongside you and it's like a buddy, not above you, but really someone that's been trained to listen and to frame things for you in a way that brings clarity. And
Hmm.
so you can see the next step yourself and move forward.
Hmm.
And a lot of executives or people in leadership don't really have a space to think because they have a lot of demands and there's so much fire to put out and so many decisions to be made. But a coach will help you make quality decisions. Because sometimes we're so flustered, we make okay decisions. But with coach, we can make great decisions. And also, when it comes to conflict resolution, we're all working with people, and we know how hard that can be.
Oh, yes.
Coaching really helps you become clear when you have conflict, that you're not overrun emotions, that you're able to live by principles, to be able to resolve what needs to be resolved, to manage people well, and
Hmm.
to be able to hit productivity goals.
Hmm. Well, I mean, why doesn't everybody get a coach? Seriously, yeah.
That's the tagline we say in coaches. I mean, we always say everyone needs a coach.
Yes.
I need
Oh, you
coach.
do? Oh, that's great. So I was gonna ask, like, how did you get so to be so awesome? So honestly, Grace, like you have a coach now, and have you had that? And is that how you have honestly just stepped into what God has in store for you?
You know, if I look back at my life, I always about mentoring. Coaching is a fairly new industry, and a lot of people confuse coaching and mentoring. But I
Yes.
know right from the word go, when I started being serious about living my life on purpose, I've always sought it. But now at this stage of my career, I realize I need more than mentorship. I need coaching too, because I
Hmm.
need to be clear and I need to be aligned and to be able to live in clarity. And that's something that's slightly different from mentoring. Mentors have experience, they walk the and they can speak with wisdom because
Right.
you're on a similar path. But a
Right.
coach does not have to be in the same industry as you, and
Okay.
you don't have to do your line of work or passionate about what you're passionate about. Mentors do that because you have this kind of affinity. But
Yes.
yes, I just have a special skill set that they can have a conversation with you no matter what. Like, I have clients that are finance executives, and I have zero finance skills, by the way. But the value that I bring is to be able to ask powerful questions,
Uh-huh.
clarifying questions, and to help them lean their ladder against the right wall. Because
Ooh.
sometimes this is a big thing. And yeah, a lot of people are pursuing goals and success, but
Ooh.
it's on the wrong wall. You
Oh.
get to the top of the ladder, you realize this is actually not me. This is not what I want. This
Oh
is
my goodness.
And so a coach helps you figure that one out very quickly before you waste time and resources moving in a direction that you're not happy about.
Oh, wow, wow. I've never heard that like idea of like considering what wall you're leaning your ladder against. Because obviously it's effort to get up the ladder, but then when you realize, oh no, it's the wrong wall. Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah. And that's really an analogy that represents a lot of people's reality because we don't have enough time to think and process and make decisions. We just go, go, go. We take whatever decision that comes, and
Yeah.
next thing, on 5 years, building something that you weren't quite clear if that was what you wanted to do with your life.
Mm-hmm. So then how do you, I mean, what what have you seen? How do people realize that they're climbing up the wrong wall, like that they're leaning against the wrong wall? Like at what point and how, I mean, I feel like I've already realized that and I'm so glad. And so I feel like I'm now like on the right wall. But I was on the wrong wall and it was frustrating and I was angry and then I met with a business mentor for 5 minutes and he said, "It seems to me, Anne, like you're asking permission to fly."
Wow.
And I just was weeping away. But I was like, yes. And then I thought I was asking my boss to fly. But then I realized I'm asking the wrong person. I should be asking God. And then God's like, yeah, let's go. So
That is so good. And you asked $1 million question. How do you know if
right.
you're leaning your ladder against the wrong wall? And right there, you captured it well. Frustration is one of the things that will be perpetual. We all get frustrated here and there, but for a few minutes and you move on
Right.
because sometimes life has glitches. But when you're constantly with this chronic frustration, it's a sign that you're not in alignment. You're not aligned. You're not aligning yourself with the right wall. You're trying to climb a ladder on the wrong wall. Another sign is, I like a phrase that the Bible describes. It says, leanness of soul. There's
Oh,
something that has to happen to you when your life is not in alignment with the right wall. Your soul feels so lean. You lack fulfillment. There
wow.
is no quality of satisfaction. You feel like you just been working so hard without fruit. And then there is anxiety that starts to build up a lot. Sleep issues are all start being out of alignment with your soul.
Wow.
People just start to struggle with motivation. You
Oh,
show
yeah.
you just sit and look around the people in the room. I remember one time in my life, I was going through transition and I didn't realize how stressed it was. I walked into a room, that was my team. And I'm looking at all these people. I'm like, who are these people? I'm
Uh-oh.
with them. Like, this is not my life. Like, you have these moments that you just feel so like disconnected. You
Oh,
just don't gel anymore. And those are signs that you've got to look at. You've got to move in a different direction. And that's the thing about how God made us. Our souls are so powerful.
mm-hmm.
They always know. They give us messages. They give us hints when we are corroding our soul. You start to feel the effects of the corrosiveness of you being in a toxic environment, being in a dysfunctional space, or forcing yourself to be in a place that you were not designed for. Soul will start to feel the impact, and it does show in your life. You will feel how lean your soul is. You don't have patience for your family. You're just irritable. You're just not fun to be around. It's not nice.
Yeah.
Lost the plot somewhere.
That's funny when your family's like, you're no fun anymore. Like, oh, family, and how honest they can be with you. And like, it's good. They're like a mirror. They're like, you're not well. But I really hear what you're saying is that we have to pay attention to our emotions as well. Yeah. So how do we, in class I asked you, how do we have more self-awareness, and how do we pay more attention to how we're doing? And so I kind of want to ask you again, like,
Yeah.
how do we pay attention to our souls? How do we know?
Oh, I love this question. And short way to do that, and I'll explain a little bit more, is to recognize that God has designed us. Just because we are humans, we're actually complex. We have a spirit, we have a soul, we have a body. We need to understand the functions of each. In our
Okay.
spirits, that's where we have communion with God. When we get saved, we have relationship with God. But in our soul, there's also another faculty that God has given us. That is our intuition.
Oh,
Intuition is a place of knowing. Because
yes.
we're made in the image of God, He's given us the ability to have a gut feeling. And
Mm-hmm.
intuition works through our emotional expression, and emotions are messengers, they're signals. And so when you start to have a particular emotion, instead of jumping into the emotion and acting out what the emotion is saying, take
Mm-hmm.
a step and ask yourself, what is it about this emotion that I'm supposed to get? And for instance, anger. Anger is one of the most misunderstood emotion because when it comes with such force,
Mm-hmm.
energy that you just want to act out. You want to lash out. You want to road rage. You just want to tell someone off on the queue, especially now with COVID. You know,
Right.
people like having short fuse. But
Uh-huh.
anger is a message for your intuition to let you know you're feeling threatened.
Mm.
And so instead of just reacting,
Mm-hmm.
what exactly is threatening me right now? If it's the person that's not allowing you personal space on the queue, you're threatened because of your health. So in that way, you just need to sit with that emotion even for a fraction of a second before you
Yeah.
jump into reaction. You get the message. I'm threatened because I'm afraid and I'm
Mm-hmm.
helpless. I don't know how to control this virus, so I'm scared. And
Yeah.
so it comes in that way to defend yourself. So instead of just yelling at the person, how about taking a step, few steps away and moving away from that person? You have received the message where you've not reacted in anger, but you
Right.
get the point. I feel a little bit threatened right now. I can walk away. And that's
Yes.
simple ways that you can walk with your emotion and try to interpret and listen. Or sometimes it's sadness. You just feel sad.
Mm-hmm.
So why am I sad right now? You're
Right.
sad because you lost something. Maybe
Mm.
you lost an opportunity. Maybe you lost a friend. Maybe
Right.
you some very precious thing. Instead of just letting that sad into a dark hole or just starting to think your whole life is doomed. That's what sadness does to a lot of people, especially in this time. When you're sad because the world is not working, it's easy to take yourself down a rabbit trail of just becoming like all the negative thoughts flooding because you just take sadness for what it is and you bring in all these horrible negative emotions. You are in a terrible state.
Right.
But acknowledging that I am sad. I'm sad because I cannot have time with my friends. I'm sad because I cannot see my extended family. And it's okay
Yes.
because the world is not working. The
Yeah.
emotions are gifts, but
Wow.
they're not the best leader. If you
Yeah.
lose your emotions, you're a train wreck.
Oh man, like I think so obviously what you're saying is that emotions are actually helpful because I think a lot of people would try to downplay anger or sadness even because they think, oh, because that's like sinful or because I don't have enough faith or maybe because I'm a weak it means I'm a weak person. Um,
Mm.
but I feel like what you're saying is that that actually propels you. You have options. You can choose. You can like walk away from like step a few steps away if somebody is threatening your health or if like it's too close because of COVID or we're not stuck.
Mhm.
We're not stuck in this place. Like we have choices and that's so interesting.
Mm.
Huh. Well, I also was thinking
That's
like,
something we do so much, especially in this year, emotional
yeah,
management. That's for me far more important than I mean, it's as much as is on the same level as cleaning your hands, wearing your mask, and doing all the safety stuff. It's important to have emotional management because you could easily have a toxic emotional experience while you're doing all the healthy stuff in the external. You're
mhm,
really getting a lot of toxicity inside. You're not cleaning and releasing emotions. So that's something that coaching therapy does a lot of that, but I love coaching because while you're trying to achieve your goals, while you're trying to move forward, there's a particular module that we do in coaching, which is coaching, where you process emotions that are showing up along the way while you're trying to achieve your goals. So you don't kind of go out there charging and discount the fact that you're an emotional being.
right.
Get in the way of achieving your goals or um, having enough motivation to show up in your team. So acknowledging those emotions even during in this year is very important.
Wow. I just keep thinking about people who, have midlife crises. You know what I mean? I feel like that's a moment where they're just overwhelmed with
Yes.
everything. So, I mean, and I don't think it's really healthy to have a midlife crisis. I think it's better. I mean, I'm not even a coach, but hey, I'm just thinking, I think it's better if you actually pay attention before you hit the crisis, right? So how okay, other than the fact that we all need to like hire you as our professional coach. Like, hi. So I already have so many people I'm totally would love to recommend to you because I'm like, yeah. What advice would you give? And hi, Erin, and hi, Inyaki. I see you guys. Anyway, so yeah, I don't know. What would your advice be for to prevent, I guess, a midlife crisis? And
Oh, I'm so glad you asked that. Because, midlife crisis was actually one of the reasons why I created a Soul Successful Woman. Because
okay,
the point for a lot of women that they start to realize their ladder is leaning against the wall because they've been ignoring their
ooh,
emotional messages while pursuing external success. It's like they've traded their souls, and you get to a point that you cannot trick your soul anymore. You cannot numb your soul anymore. You cannot lie to yourself anymore. A moment of reckoning shows up where everything
yeah,
starts to crumble, and you
yeah,
have to face the honest truth. Where am I going? Is this
yeah,
the life
ooh,
I want?
right,
Is this it? And in that moment, that's when we turn the lens soul, because success is already there. Most of my clients in Soul Successful Women, actually, it's a premium niche coaching within the Maximize Group work that I do that's
mm-hmm,
exclusively for women that have succeeded so much, so well,
mm-hmm,
that they're suffocating and
ooh,
satisfied. And that is a soul thing. The soul will let you feel the suffocation because it wants to breathe. You kind of stuff things down for a long time. You've denied your desires, you've denied your passion, you've denied the things that make you come alive. And here's another thing about the soul. When you express yourself,
mm-hmm,
you come alive. When you suppress yourself, you're actually shrinking. Your soul starts to shrink. But it
yeah,
gets to a point when you hit that midlife, you shrunk your soul so much that the soul is saying, no more.
oh,
I'm not going to shrink any less because I need air. And that's when
yeah,
things fall apart. And some people, divorces happen. Some people,
uh,
great careers. Or, I mean, we know the typical situation with men going to younger women. There's just so much that's happening. People are just out of character.
mm,
You're paying attention to your soul, you will be able to navigate a major life change without the crisis.
okay,
We're all designed to go through major life transitions at certain ages and stages of our life, or phases. It's not a particular age, it's a phase where you need to upgrade, you need to leave something behind and move on to something. But if you don't have that quality in your
mm-hmm,
soul,
mm-hmm,
able to be bold enough to leave the old and grow into the new season, you will break down. You will have crisis. And that is why I say in Soul Successful Women, you start to learn and get the tools to align your soul with your goals.
yeah,
It's so easy to remember that if your goals are not aligned with your soul, you will midlife crisis.
okay,
One of the practical questions that I ask clients to do is take a piece of paper, divide it into two columns, and I ask just two questions that completely blows out of the water for clients. The first question is, what fills your time? List everything.
oh,
And then the second question is, what fulfills your soul? And many times I don't even need to say anything. People can see it. The
uh,
things that fulfill their souls are so little. The
wow,
things that fulfill their time forever. And so in that way, you're not in alignment, you're not back. And you've got to start in that direction. What consumes my time? Is it just meetings and work? But really, what does my soul want? What's my best expression? If that is not matching with how you use your time, you're guaranteed to have this sooner or
oh,
later.
oh my goodness. And obviously, what is temporary and what is eternal?
Exactly.
Oh no. Well, you're killing me right
Is
now.
it just the now, or is there eternal
Right.
perspective? And if you cannot draw that line to match what you're doing now with where your soul is actually going,
Yeah.
you are not in alignment.
Wow. Well, and I think what you're saying too, I mean, thank you just for saying that. Like, even just writing two lists, it's super obvious where we're spending our time. Um, but I think what you're saying too, what I'm hearing is that we're just integrated people. We have physical bodies and we pay attention to that, we feed it, we bathe it, we hopefully exercise and try to eat healthy. And then we have mental, our emotional, and our like we try to like learn good things and train and try to be disciplined with our minds, but then also our souls, our spirits, like, and it's so integrated.
Yeah. And you're so right, because even for me personally, especially with this year of everything being up in the air, I have to frequently take stock of where my time is going. And
Yeah.
if I do that, you start to feel like you're out of alignment. You start to
Wow.
feel you're like you're going through the motion. I look at some weeks, I'm like, where did time go? Because it's
Right.
just so much coming at you. If you're learning to be intentional with your soul,
Yeah.
you'll be able to bring a degree of presence and mindfulness to everything that requires your time. And I'm so
Huh.
on it, very firm with myself. Even if I love some things, they're so great, but they're taking up a lot more time. I know that it's just a nice to have, not really core priority. I will have to take a step back so I can regain balance in that way.
Ooh, that's
Because you
good.
have for yourself, else you will completely be disconnected from your soul. Just chasing the good stuff.
Yeah, wow. So obviously good things are good, but in in moderation and in the big picture of things.
Yeah.
Um, so I feel like, well, I really appreciate what you said to the class on even how you spend your time, because I feel like that you've really prioritized where you spend your energy and what you give your attention and energy to. Can you tell us more about that?
Sure. Firstly, we've got to be honest with ourselves to admit that we are finite. I think
Mhm.
high achievers and high performers really do not think that applies to them.
True.
They have incredible capacity and they can do more. And I'm going to be very honest. My husband and I will have a very good coaching conversation a lot of the times. And I always say, you married a coach. I'm sorry. I am who I am. And what I noticed last week, he was very tired.
Mhm.
And so I asked him a question like, what are you going to do for self-care? And he was like, oh, I always say to myself that I've been more tired before, but I've been able to be productive. So this is okay. Can you
Right.
see how the high-performing mindset can trick you into pushing
Yes.
yourself past your limit? So sometimes you rationalize, you say, but when I was in my 20s, I could do so much more. I could do
Oh yeah.
this shouldn't be a problem. And you override your margins because you still have a lot to do. So it's very, very important to
Oof.
first decide what is my capacity, how much can I do this season? And then you set limit. And so for me personally, I always go over my portfolios and
Yes.
also portfolios because that includes even
Uh-huh.
family stuff. But I have to
Yes.
make it important because if you minimize, oh, it's just school stuff for my kid, you would not be able to acknowledge the amount of emotional bandwidth and time and work that.
Mhm.
So I break down everything. I have a portfolio for my education that takes time.
Mhm.
Of what to put in his lunchbox, how to respond to communication from the school, what special requests, all the school runs. And my son is a picky eater. Like I need to remember how to rotate certain things. If I put it 2 or 3 days in a row, the same thing, he doesn't eat it anymore. I don't want him to.
Wow.
A lot of that takes emotional bandwidth. That's one
Right.
portfolio for me as a working mom.
Wow.
And then there is the home itself as another portfolio. With my son, the
Yeah.
cleaning, the organizing, the laundry, the pet, our pet needs to be looked after, the
Oh,
flowers, the lawn, grocery shopping, making sure there's everything in the cupboard, medical appointments. That's another portfolio. It
huge.
takes energy, but if you don't acknowledge it, you will just be thinking you can do everything and
Yes.
get so stretched beyond your margin. And then there's the business that I run from home. I run
Yes.
Maximize, and that requires margins. I do a lot of coaching. Emotionally, you are giving, so it's working with clients and then it's working on the business itself, doing invoices and all of that.
Oh, yes.
then there's time with you and your husband. You know, there's a lot.
Oh yeah.
Making space for that. When are we gonna have the time to just sit with a cup of coffee? You've got to know and plan and manage all of that. I don't take it as dramatic. I do not go through my day or my week on autopilot. I've got to know what requires more energy this week than
Mm,
I'm constantly prioritizing and reprioritizing, especially with COVID. Usually I would do that maybe twice a year, look at my goals, decide to be intentional, and then live with a plan. But I can't even wait for twice a year to do that. COVID, I do
yes.
monthly review because how you lived last month is going to change because the school's
Totally.
open. Suddenly there's a
Oh,
different time, right?
yes. Everything is shifting.
Yeah. So it's a
Yep.
lot of thinking, and you need space to step out of your life, to look at it, then re-enter your life. Because if you're constantly in the game, you lose perspective. You
Ooh,
just producing, you're just doing, and you don't even realize at what point you're so depleted.
yeah. Well, I think there's also just a general fatigue.
Yes,
I think we're
absolutely.
just tired because we're just getting slammed by all the different information and how do we live and how do we survive, literally. Um,
Absolutely.
and I also said that, so I feel like you're talking about this too, like that we are finite. And I totally agree, like, amen. I kind of like realized that a while ago. And the sadness of the realization that when I was young and had energy, I didn't have the responsibility. But now that I'm older and have less energy and my body's breaking down and is screaming for my attention,
Yeah.
that's when my energy is waning. And I'm like, well, God, that doesn't make any sense. Thanks.
But you know, God is so strategic in that. And I love how you said that. That's awareness right there. You have awareness that changing. But you know why God allows our bodies to start to give way? So we can learn to focus and be more um, targeted with
Okay.
how people live, to be more intentional. But I see that there's people that try to override that limitation of
Oh,
age of
yeah.
life. They think they can still do everything and they keep pushing. When you see them, you'll find that there's very little life authority because
Mm,
or wanting to be that teenager, the 20-something-year-old leader, because they love that version of themselves. I was so capable. I've got to keep being that. I can't lose my edge. You know, you're actually transitioning into another season where you can actually focus better
yep.
and build deeper and have more substance in your work. And so
Mm,
in that way, that limitation is a gift because I realized necessity um, is a mother of invention. So when you know that you have such crucial need,
yeah,
you don't have a lot of time, you will reinvent yourself differently, right? You would do things differently.
totally.
Prioritize some people more than others and
True.
not
Yes.
be with everyone.
It's so true. Like, yeah, that's when you really, you can't go as wide, but you can go deeper. It's not about quantity, but it's about quality. Whoa.
That's so.
Um, yeah. And Aaron's like, amen.
And you know, that's a gift of convergence.
Okay.
Convergence is divergence because there are times in your life you've kind of diversify and learn and take on all these opportunities. But then there comes a time that life requires of you to start converging. And a lot of us don't know when that message is through. We still want to diversify, we still want to diverge, we still want to have everything that we used to do before, and we miss that convergence is actually where your life comes through with great clarity and impact for that particular season or assignment for you. Like when I look at you, you're a project manager, you've done so many things in your life. You are truly gifted and global. But I can also sense that there's something about this season of your life that's inviting you into convergence to focus
Ooh,
on things well. And that's beautiful.
thanks. Yeah, I am sensing this too. I'm an intuitive and I'm still trying to collect all the data. Like, I am so grateful though, personally, and just really grateful for what God is doing. And I'm trying to just be obedient and follow and try to understand right now. Oh, gonna cry. But yeah, I'm really gonna try to like what is God doing and where, like what wall? Again, like am I supposed to switch walls? Is this the wall, but it just has a different slant right now? I don't even know.
Mhm.
So thanks, Grace. Like, oh, that's
And
all.
I love seeing that process for people when they're moving their ladder. That is one of the most courageous, brave things you could ever do to honor your soul, is to be
Mm,
authentic and to speak your truth and to live your truth and go, this is me. Come to a point that I do not need to apologize. And
right.
I do not need to play small just to make other people happy. I'm gonna be who
What?
I be.
Oh, Grace, like I recently heard that phrase and it just blew my socks off. Okay. This person said like that they actually walk around making themselves small so that other people can feel big, but because of the egos that are around.
Yes.
But I don't want to do that. And I don't think that that's healthy. I don't think that's good. I was like, you know what? Why don't we just stand up to and just move in the areas and the places that God is calling us to? And everybody else will have to figure it out. And they're like, whoa, who is this 5'0" Asian woman rolling around the world? And like people try to, I honestly have just tried to like box me in, but mostly I'm just like, well, I'm just a different Asian woman than you've encountered before, but you're going to have to expand your understanding of what that looks like.
Yes. And I love that about you in this. I can see you have decided to turn your ladder in a certain direction. You're putting yourself out there and you're
Yeah.
speaking, you're creating. And that's
Yes.
something that requires boldness. And I just think about Joshua in Joshua 1:7. That's the definition of good success when you align your soul with your assignment.
Mm,
That was the chapter that talks about boldness and courage. And that's the definition of success. When you live unapologetically in
mm,
alignment with the assignment that God has given you, with eternity in mind, you
yep.
go, I'm not going to stand before God and make excuses because my or my kind be too much. Uh,
No.
and or anything else before the Lord. And it's like, I love that. I want to affirm you.
Oh, thanks.
Got that permission.
Oh, I'm gonna listen to this live stream again just for me. And I'm like, hey Grace, this is awesome for everybody else, and really I'm glad everybody else is joined, but this is actually just I'm like, oh no, this is like actually just a personal coaching moment. Grace, check is in the mail. I'm gonna have to like thank you. The day before Manila,
Hmm.
when we were there, I was actually attacked by somebody on my team,
Oh.
and the person was lying about me. And the rest of the team was amazing, but because they all told me, hey, they're like, do you know that this person is saying this about you? I was like, uh-oh. And I really wanted the event and for the conference to be used by God. And if that was the case, we really needed to be okay spiritually.
Mhm.
So I had a conversation with the person and I didn't attack, but I was like, so what's going on? And I think you have something to say. And then the person wasn't honest. And I said, and I just said, hey, I know what you're saying.
Mhm.
And I think that you actually need to repent for the sin of lying. And so I think that he wanted me to be the subservient, mute, Asian woman, all the stereotypes. But I was like, I'm sorry. It's a bad day for you because I'm not going to be that mute, you know, subservient Asian woman that you expect right now.
Yeah.
Aaron has a question. What do we do with and what do we say to those who walk around living their truth, but it's not in alignment with what God has assigned them to do? Wow.
That is so good. When
Woof.
you're talking, that caught my eye, and I want to come back to what you're saying about that conflict. But thank you for bringing that out. This is one of the points of great deception, because God has called us in with a unique assignment. Like Joshua, he had a clear mandate. Moses had a clear mandate. If you try to be yourself and put yourself out there without God's anointing for that assignment, you are on your own. You are deceived, and you are going to just be living in self exaltation. And you're living for your flesh, and you're trying to, selfish ambition, that's what it is. and God is clearly against fornication. But kingdom purpose, kingdom pursuit is where God blesses and approves. It says, seek ye first the kingdom of God and his righteousness. Every other thing will be added. A lot of people just want to just take the name of God and add all their pursuit, their ambition to it, thinking I'm making myself great. Well, that was a tower,
Wow.
all right? We saw what
Yes.
it leads to destruction. But God is the one that blesses the hands. So the alignment has to be to kingdom purposes, to eternal purposes, not just for what we want in this life.
Wow.
Yeah. So thank you. That's a great distinction that you made right there.
So basically, if I'm in alignment with God and if my soul is in a good place with God, you know, and not lean, but I don't know,
Yeah.
full, thriving, healthy, then like honestly, and I felt that, like I felt like I can take in what this person is saying and it won't destroy me because I know that I'm here because of God. And I know that I'm here because he has called me to this place. And so I was able to then be calm and not, you know, distraught in order to respond well. And then to call this person to repentance if that's possible. So
Well, thank you for sharing this. And I'm also amazed at your courage to confront. A lot of people struggle with confrontation. And I'm just curious, why did you confront the person? What did that?
I was motivated by the idea that God would not use the conference if there was sin, especially on the planning team. And I definitely wanted, I mean, I think that what we do impacts everybody. Our sin doesn't just impact me, it doesn't just impact the other person, it impacts everybody. And so I was just motivated for this to be used by God and for us to work well together. And also, I really wanted him to do the right thing. Like, I was trying to call him
Mhm.
to be a man of God and to admit to his sin.
Mm.
And also, I said, hey, also, instead of like sabotaging my leadership, what you could do is actually support me.
Yes.
You can do that today.
Mhm.
The conference is starting tomorrow. You have that decision, you have that choice.
Wow. Sure. Wow.
It didn't happen,
Mm.
but I really wanted it to happen. You know what I mean? So I was just like, I was kind of like, come on, man, do it, do the right thing, own it, say sorry.
So now with Manila a year behind us,
Yes.
what have you learned the most about yourself through this experience with it?
Well, great question. It was so knowing, I knew that God had called me to that place. And if God had me there, then I needed to be obedient and walk in it. And so I felt like it was really just me walking in obedience with God. And I also learned that I can have a voice and I can speak up and I can call people to do the right thing as well.
I love that. I can be obedient, I can have a voice, and I can call people out. Those are incredible leadership traits. And I just wanted to affirm that because
Mm,
I know you probably have processed this over and over, but it just is great when you're able to be on a live, reflect about something that was so painful and painful circumstances have a way of giving us growth.
mm-hmm.
That was a reflection question to figure out how you've grown through that. And it's amazing how you showed those three things powerfully. I affirm you for walking through that pain and
Oh, thanks.
thinking about it, but finding perspective. It's awesome.
Yeah, I personally I feel like it's made me stronger. It also has made me sad, like for the state of the church on a global level sometimes. Because
Mm,
I think you see the good, the bad, and the ugly, but it
mm,
gives me perspective that we are in need of God and in need of his grace all the time. So
wow, sure. And I can tell that that has given you a more resolute stand to be who you are for Christ without
That's right.
apology. I feel like you're stronger because of that.
Yeah. And it's probably not what he wanted, but oh well. God has a plan and he brings goodness out of what we think, whatever we think is death. Like if I think, oh man, conflict, I'd rather die than try to address conflict. God actually means to bring new life out of that. And I think that that has happened. Like, so anyway, so we have a few minutes left, Grace, but I wanted to give you a chance to well, a couple minutes on like your advice for women on how we can take care of our souls. Yeah, that'd be great.
Awesome. Well, it's been fun chatting and just to be able to figure out tips to kind of implement in small practical ways. Firstly, as a principle, I would say manage your margins while you're managing your productivity.
Mm.
Because a lot of times we wait until we crash and burn before.
Oh, okay. I think you're plugging in your phone because I can't hear you anymore.
Just plug my charger in, it froze on you.
Okay.
Yeah, so manage your margins while you're managing your productivity, especially for women. We are naturally in a position to give a lot because of how God made it. The truth is, God made us different from men. We tend to give more
Mm-hmm.
by design. So no one can look out for you better than you can look out for yourself. So if you're waiting for someone to notice and say, hey, you've done a little bit too much, chances are if you don't have a coach or you have a really close friend or someone that really intentional with you, you may not get that check. So do that for yourself and start to say to yourself, what are my margins? And sometimes you start to become forgetful. I know that about myself. I self-checked when I think last month when school reopened, transitioning from homeschooling and still coaching from home. I took my son quickly to school. Now I'm driving back and I realized I did not take his lunch bag. I left it in the kitchen.
Uh,
You know, so like little things like that. Not to forget things. You live the laundry a little bit longer without putting it in the dryer. Then I said, okay, probably margins here. I need to stop. I didn't have to wait for burnout for emotional fatigue, but I
mm,
think forgetfulness is a sign that I need to start. Okay, I need to do things differently. I need to drop at least one meeting in the week so I can just sit and breathe, let my mental capacity recover because I've been making a lot of decisions and you start to forget the little things. So those are ways to tell women force no no agenda slot on your calendar. Where if it's just an hour in the morning that you sit with yourself, actually put it in. I do that for myself.
that's great.
Call it the time, the sweet time of doing nothing. I'll
Yes.
sit and be with myself and catch up with my thoughts.
Mm-hmm.
Or if I want to do something, if I want to just browse, you just mindlessly just be with yourself. If you want to meditate, you want to listen to, you don't even have to make it like a, I mean, my devotion times are different from my times of doing nothing. So I
Mm-hmm.
would do that. And then another tip I would recommend, I did that again last week, the principle of replacement. Sometimes when you get so blurry with one thing, try and switch things up. I quit my computer for a whole morning and I took a drive. And I started
Nice.
conversing with another person just to connect differently. I could have sat and connected via Zoom, but I thought, let me shake things up. I'm going to be with a real human. So those things re-energize your soul. It takes you away from
Wow.
productivity. So that's one way. And I say, find that thing that your soul feel nurtured. And it doesn't have to be big things. Sometimes a drive, 30 minutes, and pick up time for my school because I want to sit and before do nothing in the car. Because if I'm at home, I will keep fiddling and doing stuff
That's true.
or whatever till time. So I
Yep.
force myself in the house just because when I go there early, I have to sit with my car. I use Wi-Fi on my phone, but I just want to off and just look around and notice life.
Oh,
So
that's
do the
awesome.
little things to reset your soul, and also take care of yourself. Try and rest. I
Mm-hmm.
know people are struggling with sleep disturbances in this year.
Mm-hmm.
I've had a lot of around that. I see that in my home. My husband is not been sleeping well. I know that that's true for many people. So do right things. Take your phones, switch off technology, put them in another room, and disconnect. That's what I do for my husband and I. I'm like, okay, I know you're gonna read that last before bedtime. Can I please have money? And I take them and I tuck them somewhere. I cannot touch them. So do those mindful disconnect things, and it doesn't have to be big. You don't have to plan a vacation. If you're waiting for when you have that time, that's not gonna happen anytime soon. So do the little things that switch off to recharge and renew your soul, and mostly spend time with the Lord. I
Mm-hmm.
think for me is the most important. I'm challenging myself to increase my time with the Lord in the year, because that's the only place I can have peace,
Yes.
presence. Yeah,
Yes.
we're doing a lot of that. Really, really, really.
Wow.
Yeah.
So it's the little things, and in not just like a massive vacation, but like little things that you adapt every your lifestyle in order to gain margin and paying attention, like if you are forgetting things or if you are swearing a little bit more often. I don't know, those people who swear while you're driving, those tells, like it's a tell like that, oh, hey, that's happening. I think I'm reaching my maximum and I think I need to like extend grace to yourself. Yeah.
And that's what women need a lot this season. A lot.
Mm,
We're very self-sacrificing. So just remember that.
right. And
Self-some.
to give yourself permission to start to reprioritize and just even like build in some time. Um, so thank you so much, Grace. You are just, oh, you're a gift. Um, and we have a minute and a half left, but so I would love for you to just tell people how to find you and any projects that you're working on these days that are giving you joy.
Sure. Well, you can find me on the maximizegroup.com or soulsuccessfulwoman.com. I'm also on Facebook and on Instagram, and that leads to other things. And, in terms of what given me joy, well, we have about to the end of this year. I made an intentional decision to, um, I do that every year, but more especially this year, have time to process and journal and
Mm,
I call it clear, because when you have a lot of emotional experiences, they tend to linger in your
mm,
system. So I want to encourage our viewers too and our listeners, give yourself time to process and tie up loose ends and finish any kind of emotional residue that's probably in your system. So when 2021 comes, you are kind of re-energized and new margin to take on new things.
wow.
Um, and well, and for reflection and time for closure and times to process a major thing that may have impacted you on your heart emotionally this important. So I'm doing that with a lot of clients as well. I'm helping people here and coach to process and to resolve, to be able to find fresh perspectives through all that's happening. Yeah,
Thanks. So we
that's my
have 5 seconds left, but I love it. I'm going to rewatch this session myself.